this year we had UConn, right, win the championship. But that's not what I want to talk about in this post. My earlier post, I was congratulating them. I mentioned about being the Great White Hope. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode. Because years ago, a year ago or 2 years ago, that Kaitlyn Clark was seen as the Great White Hope, right, in NCAA basketball for women. And this year, even though Paige Becker's been doing her thing, she was not considered to be the Great White Hope. And it got me thinking, why? Why is Paige Becker not the Great White Hope when all the white people were going crazy over Kaitlyn Clark, right? Going Kaitlyn Clark crazy, right? Disrespecting Angel Reese when they were playing each other, right? So, like they had that good versus evil thing. They was making Kaitlyn Clark the good and Angel the evil. Well, why not this year with Paige Beckers? Why not make her good and find some black player to make the evil, to pit them against Paige against the two? Well, you know what I mean. Pit them against each other. They didn't do that. They did it with Kaitlyn Clark, but they didn't do it with Paige Beckers. And to me, I'm not saying it's odd, because we don't need that in women's sports. But when you think about it, Kaitlyn Clark was seen as the Great White Hope for white people because black people dominated the sport of basketball. We dominate that. We dominate that, the sport of basketball, men's side and women's side. We dominate that. And so they made Kaitlyn Clark the Great White Hope. Right? But Paige Beckers is white. Right? Why she can be the Great White Hope this year. And then I thought of, what came to my mind? Is they showed a clip. I seen a clip of Paige Beckers. And she's showing love to her brother. And I was like, one of these things is not like the other. Right? Paige Becker's little brother is black. He presents as black. I don't know if he's half black, half white, but he presents as black. And you can tell she presents as white, pure white. And I thought about it. What if Paige Beckers is half black? What if Paige Beckers is half black and we didn't know it because she presents so well as being full white? And that, right? She presents so well as being full white that we thought she was pure all white. No, she's not biracial or anything. Not trying to be, talking bad, but just think about it, right? You've seen a lot of biracial children, and a lot of them present more on the black side than they do the white side. And there are some who present more on the white side than they do the black side. So you wouldn't be able to tell that they're half black. Or you wouldn't be able to tell that they're half white. And this is what I'm thinking with Paige Beckers. Maybe she wasn't considered being the Great White Hope because she's not fully white. What if she's half black, half white, and we didn't know this? Because she's presenting to us, as we see it, as white, pure white. You understand what I'm saying? Just think about it. Every sport has a Great White Hope. Yes, every sport has one, especially if it's a sport where black people dominate. Because I looked up the definition. The definition of Great White Hope is a white person who's in a sport that's dominated by black people. Yep, that's basically what the definition is. So we dominate in basketball. I think we dominate in football, even though we do hear a lot about a lot of white players in football, but still in all. There are sports that we dominate in that white people don't, and they always pick one white person to be the great white hope in that sport, right? So that's why I was just thinking that, like, why Paige Beckers wasn't this year considered to be the great white hope. Could she be biracial and we not know it? But the people could see it and we didn't see it? And that's why she wasn't considered the great white hope? Was there no black player to pit her against to really put her out there as the great white hope for women's basketball? You know, these things go through your mind when you think about it. Why wasn't Paige Beckers, like Kaitlyn Clark, considered to be the next great white hope for women's basketball, the way they made Kaitlyn Clark out to be? These are just my thoughts, my opinion on this situation, because, like I said in the previous episode, Roland Martin did an actual video on it. He talked about it on his show about, her not being the great white hope. Like, if there's no black person to pit her against, then she's not going to be the great white hope. Yeah. And they're probably thinking, she crazy for this one. No, I'm not crazy for it. You got to think about it. All the hoopla they made over Kaitlyn Clark when she was in the NCAA, before she decided to go into the WNBA. All that hoopla white people made on Kaitlyn Clark. And they pitted her against Angel Reese. And like I said, they made Angel Reese the bad and Kaitlyn the good. Good versus evil. So Angel's the evil one, Kaitlyn's the good one. When they really liked each other. But the media put them against each other so that we can see it as the people who are viewing could see Angel as the evil and Kaitlyn as the good. Because Angel said it, that I think she said that she was getting death threats at that time because they didn't like her. Because they were pitting the two against each other, and they ain't like her. So what you do? You hurl death threats for no reason to try to scare. They do it to scare you. Those are tactics they do to scare you. But Angel wasn't scared. But that's just my thought. Why wasn't Paige Beckers considered the great white hope this season in women's basketball? Yes, there's a lot of white players whose names is mentioned, but Paige Beckers is on top. She's the top of the list. She's the one on the top of the list. And she wasn't, which we don't need a great white hope. We just want to love the game of basketball, and she loves the game of basketball. We just want to see her play and not her be pitted against another player to be the great white hope. This is just, like I said, this is just my opinion. I hope that we don't get another